Hello, RWorld, and welcome back to another episode of RWorldTalk. We have our second time guest joining us today, Mr. Jonathan Lickstein.
Two-time.
How are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. Living the dream over here.
Okay, of course you are. Jonathan, welcome back. You are finishing up your year as first vice president. We're going into the holidays, and we are doing this series on all the leadership that's coming in for 2024. So in 2024, you are going to be installed as our president-elect. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, and thank you for what you've done thus far.
Well, thank you very much. This has been it's been an incredible year, and I'm excited for what David's going to do next year, and then you're going to follow up, and I'm sure do some amazing things in 2025 when it's your turn to be president. Why don't you tell us a little bit about some experiences in your past that have shaped you for the leadership roles that you're going to be taking on? Can you share a little story with us?
100%. So coming up through the association, part of my involvement did start with a certain track, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure. But coming through, going historically back to who we became as human beings, right? It's a very important thing for you to do, reflecting back on the experiences in your life that shape who you become today. And going through our local leadership academy, and then subsequently going through our state leadership academy with Florida Realtors, caused me to go through this point and this period of reflection, looking back to decisions that were made when we were 12 and 13 years old, making decisions, not really understanding how it would completely change the pathway of your life.
Right.
I remember when I turned 13 years old, I was in open court sitting in front of both of my parents deciding where I wanted to live. And it was one, stay with my father and stay in Virginia, or B, go with my mother and move to Florida. And that decision right there, and not realizing it at the moment, completely changed the pathway of the rest of my life.
Right. Pivotal moment.
Correct. So going even deeper, choosing to go to Florida brought me here. Great. That pathway also took me to Central America, where I lived on an island off the coast of Honduras, learned how to speak Spanish, and gained probably the best experience of perspective I could possibly have in my life. Many people coming from the same background as myself, middle-class suburban neighborhood in Northern Virginia, don't really gain the perspective of some areas that really struggle with poverty, really struggle with making ends meet, not even living paycheck to paycheck, literally day to day, and understanding and getting a feeling from those people and how they go through life and living side by side next door in the middle of the same neighborhood really gave me a different perspective when you walk in, and allows me to make decisions in a certain well-rounded atmosphere. Then I can look at it not only from my own perspective, but when it comes to the association, and the perspective of every single member going through their business day to day. Perspective is probably the best experience anybody can ever have in their life, to then be able to make a quality decision looking at all avenues and all angles. So perspective has led me down to where I am right now.
Well, I'm sure that perspective has actually given you a certain passion for making sure that you could put everybody who is in need of a home, put them in a home, no matter what walk of life they came from. Not just, allowing people to create that generational wealth, especially if you lived in a place where you had seen some people that didn't have all the things that we do have here in the United States.
I mean, 100%. We live in the United States, and you say the land of opportunity, and so many people feel like we're restricted by legislation and laws and restrictions in different areas, when in reality, this is truly the land of opportunity.
Absolutely.
Having lived in that environment where, we talk about interest rates. Interest rates are like 35% there. The government and the way that things are set up aren't really generated and created for the members of the public to improve their life, and always keep the lower class in the lower class and the higher class in the higher class, and not really allow you to move off of that and create generational wealth for your children and those thereafter.
Right.
So this is the land of opportunity, and we need to appreciate what we have here.
Yeah, there's certainly people still to this day in the United States that feel that way, that the lower class has kept the lower class and the upper class has kept the upper class. But as realtors, it's amazing what we could do each day in order to help those people get into a home and start building, like I said, that generational wealth, and really change their perspective on what it is to live the American dream. So it's incredible what we get to do every day.
Completely.
Why don't you tell us, obviously, you're a very busy guy. You're COO for location, was a broker before that. Why don't you tell us about that path in your career that's got you to where you are today?
So I started where everyone else did. I was a sales agent, worked selling homes and doing long-term rentals, and vacation rentals even. Actually started in the industry in property management, doing vacation rentals and property management. And I am glad to not be doing that anymore. But with that being said, I moved into sales and had to run around both in English and Spanish. Fortunately, I started in shorts and flip-flops selling real estate, and that was fun. Wish we could go back to that one. But anyhow, going through that experience gave me the perspective to then be able to lead others as a broker going through that same experience and be able to give them some of the tips and tricks and methods that I utilized, and in turn make others successful. So instead of having to find success and have closings myself, I'm finding success by making others successful. And I really, really value that role. Now I go even further in, and I'm behind the scenes trying to make success for others without them knowing that I'm making success for them, right, and providing these tools and not really knowing where it's coming from. But it's not about the glory. It's about the result and the satisfaction on everybody's face when they're able to do things. And it goes the same here at the association.
Right. Well, you say you can't sell real estate in shorts and flip-flops anymore, but I got to disagree with that, because I have actually had clients that yelled at me because I showed up all dressed up. I think we talked about this in a different episode of this podcast way back. But I had people that were like pissed off at me that I showed up all dressed up, and they're like, man, we're friends. Why are you like, it's 80 degrees outside, 90 degrees outside. Like, you need to, next time I see you, you better be in shorts and sandals because you're making me uncomfortable. So we still do get to sell real estate occasionally in shorts and flip-flops.
I'm not sure anyone wants to see my calves or my toes anymore. So I'll leave that one to you there, Chris.
Right on. As busy as you are also the father of 3 children. Why don't you tell us about the support that you receive from your family? Because obviously you can't just walk away from your kids and go and do what you got to do. So what's your support system like at home? How do you deal with the work-life balance?
So you always talk about your why, right? Everyone talks about your why. Why do I hustle? Why do I work so hard? Why do I spend so much time with my income and running the business, right? And I have 3 very big reasons why. Those are my 3 boys, Josh, Jacob, and Jackson. Those are my entire world. As a single dad, it's tough. It's very tough balancing the 2, and it does require that support. She's going to love this. I can't thank my mother enough. During COVID, I was fortunate that she moved in with me. Sometimes fortunate, sometimes unfortunate, and that's the truth, Mom. But she's always there, and it gives me the capability to attend events at the association, be involved, work late when I need to, and handle, complex situations. So if you see me out and about, it's because of my mom. So if you say hi, say thank you to my mom at the same time.
Awesome. I heard you picked up playing the guitar recently. How does your mom like hearing your guitar riff going on late at night?
It's funny. Music has always kind of run in the family. Every family has like a gathering, and there's something you always do, right? Some people play board games. Some people play sports in the backyard. Ours, we partake in liquid meals.
Okay.
And then everyone sings, grabs an instrument, and starts playing. The end of the night is always guitars, drums, banging on a trash can, cymbals, tambourines, whatever it might be. The end of the night is always a group effort together creating song. And I started to pick that up during COVID, and just strumming and playing. It's so relaxing.
Oh my goodness.
Nice.
So I didn't realize that our families were so, so similar. I as well have drums at home, bongos, tambourine, maracas, guitar. We've got a harmonica, and that's what we do. We sit out in the backyard, and especially when it's somebody's birthday, we always have a jam sesh as soon as the clock strikes midnight, and now it's officially your birthday. If you happen to go to sleep before midnight, we are going to all jump up and down on top of your bed and be like banging instruments. We are not musically inclined, but we just have these instruments and we play them horrifically. But it's certainly a ton of fun. It's, hey,
music is the universal language.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about professionalism, because you had mentioned that everybody comes up in a different track within the association. I was sort of in the RPAC track, and that's turned into MLS life, and some people do professional standards, which is where you had come up from, was professional standards. So why don't you tell us what professionalism means to you, and sort of what you learned on that professional standards track that you were on?
I love that. Great question. So I came up through grievance and then professional standards, and then started getting involved on the MLS side. But it's really grievance that dragged me in the first place. And, we always talk about as leaders bringing in future leaders, right? And if it wasn't for one person, I would not be involved in the association, who simply made the ask at the beginning. And this is back when she was running a campaign when we were in Fort Lauderdale. But thank you to Bonnie Medviner, who came into my office and is the one who said, oh, you'd like to get involved? Let me do that with you. And got me involved. So that's how I got into grievance.
Shout out to Bonnie.
Yeah, right. Thanks, Bonnie.
Thanks, Bonnie.
So I went up through that pathway, but professionalism means making the right decision because it's the right thing to do, not necessarily the easy thing to do in the moment. So we're all put in scenarios in a transaction where what's easy or what is less impactful or less intensive for ourselves or even benefiting ourselves is not necessarily the right thing to do for everybody involved.
Right.
Being a true professional is being able to turn something away. It's being able to say no when it hurts you because it's the right thing to do for those around you. And if you look through the code of ethics, if you're familiar with them, it's all about the golden rule. Doing unto others as you want them to do unto you.
Right.
If you were in their position, how would you want somebody in your place to act? And doing that when it doesn't benefit yourself is what I would call a true professional.
Absolutely. Well, talk about some experiences that you gained this year as the first vice president. How is that sort of shaping your future within the association to continue on your leadership journey?
So being the first vice president has put quite a bit of wear and tear on my car.
That is a hard position.
That's a tough, time-intensive position, but it's extremely rewarding, Chris. It's not at all what I expected when I came into it. It's even more rewarding than I expected. Going to all of the regional BOD meetings has been great. Right? The experience and the involvement and the relationships I built with not only the VPs of each region, whom I already had a pretty good relationship with, but the regional board members themselves. And sometimes our members don't feel like they're heard. And getting to be able to have these one-on-one conversations at orientations, at the regional BOD meetings, at some of the local events, just networking with individual members, being in the position I was in, I felt like it was my responsibility to be in every area at every moment, which is impossible. But at the same time, you can have an impact if you just make an effort. So going there and understanding the nuances from the vast geographical differences in the Treasure Coast and in Fort Pierce, all the way down to Pembroke Pines and Hollywood, where we have our South Broward BOD and the events in different sides. It's the feeling is different with the different people, but everyone wants the same thing. Right. They all want camaraderie, they all want community, and they all want to feel like they have part in something bigger within our industry. And this association has done a great job in establishing that. I was really happy to be the boots on the ground to emphasize that this year. Awesome. I can't wait to see where these leaders from the regions go from here, as they've done a tremendous job with their individual regions.
I've got to say that you've done a tremendous job in that role as first VP. All the feedback that we got from every single one of those regions, people were really spoke of you highly and really appreciated that you were their sounding board, and they really felt that you were able to bring everything up to the executive committee, but not only bring it to exec, but then also give them something back at the next meeting and let them know exactly what had happened at the corporate board meeting and where their motions went, or anything that had come up, any of the ideas that they had. I think that being first vice president in this association, when you're on that leadership journey, heading up to your presidency, hopefully, being the first vice president is a critical role, because all of those people who are serving on those regional boards, they're also on that journey stepping up. So, as you go through first vice president, and then a couple of years later, you're now going to be the president of the association, a lot of those people are going to be your chairs and vice chairs of your committees. They might be stepping up into the corporate board role or into the executive committee as well. So now you already have built up all this camaraderie of those people. They know what to expect from you. You know what to expect from them. I think it makes for a lot stronger of an executive team and a corporate board as well.
Couldn't agree anymore.
Yep. So I know that you're a super busy guy and need to get back to your office. We already asked you this on the last version of the podcast that we did about a favorite little gem or hotspot in South Florida that you love, but we're going to ask you again because there's a lot of places that we need to find out about.
So something you may not know about me, Chris, I am a secret Yelper. So I love to leave reviews. If you find my profile, you might get a nice little laugh because all of my reviews have a little bit of a joke and a pun, and I'm a big dad joke guy. So, I make fun of some of the names, etc. I like to consider myself more of a critic than a reviewer.
Okay.
If you catch what I mean. But one of my hidden gems, I will travel up to an hour to get a very fine quality meal. an experience. More than just eating dinner, it is an experience.
Okay.
And if you've ever eaten with me, I order like nobody else. I'll look at the menu, say I'll take that, and we can all share.
So you're like Gordon Ramsay on Kitchen Nightmare?
Yeah, something like that.
Order everything else.
So one of my go-to spots is actually in downtown Miami.
Okay.
And I will drive from Boca to Miami to get it.
Okay.
It's a place called Jaguar Sun. It's on the first floor of a condo building, and it's tiny. It's really not much bigger than the studio we're in right now.
No way.
It's got a little baby grand piano in the middle, and you have this bar, and the tenders are all Michelin star and awarded bartenders.
Really?
That do these craft beverages. If you go there, get the Jailbreak. They have their own like coffee infused liquor that goes in, and after 2, you don't really taste the liquor. You just feel like you're drinking iced coffee. It's insane, Chris.
Okay.
And they do happy hour, $1 oysters.
Okay.
It's a spot to go.
Well, now that you said it, I need to hear your best dad joke.
Oh, my best dad joke. I don't have one on the spot for you. I'm sorry. Okay. What do you call a fish with no eyes?
What do you call a fish with no eyes?
A fish.
Goodbye, Dave. Okay. That was awesome. Love that one. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and I wish you all the best in 2024. Happy holidays. I know tonight is first night of Hanukkah, so have a great time with your family. And for everyone here listening in, thank you guys so much for joining us again on RWorldTalk, and happy Hanukkah and happy holidays to all.